Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, shills, debt slaves, serfs, peasants, vassals, Syrians, Israelis. I'm a useful idiot, and as it turns out, there is a plan for an Israeli invasion into Syria. And I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that, because when I look at the details, it's pretty shocking. And I'm surprised it's not making more headlines, but apparently Israel wants to create a defense buffer zone inside Syria, and they have a 10-mile strip along its 47-mile border with Syria. So they have a 47-mile border they share with Syria, and it's had a rickety old fence apparently on it for 40 years that's been successful, and now they're replacing it with a 20-foot high steel wall along that entire border, and that classic Israeli fashion. And but I guess they're not going to be able to finish it fast enough. And for some reason, they think there's going to be rocket and mortar attacks daily. It hasn't really happened yet, and I'm not really sure why they expect that. But I'll get into that again later. Let's get back to the main story. So what they want to do is create a buffer zone within Syria, 10 miles deep. And they want to put 2 infantry brigades and a tank battalion in that region in the territory of Syria. So a block of land 50 miles long and 10 miles deep. And of course, you could already tell that it seems like they'll probably end up putting a lot more troops there. But I think that classifies as an invasion of Syria. And it's much like the arrangement they had with Lebanon. For 15 years, Israel had a buffer zone in Lebanon from 1985 to 2000 for 15 years. And in a striking case of deja vu, the Israeli source for this information says that they could imagine being there for years in Syria as well. So I'm not sure what to say about why they could justify this. Of course, it's all depends on timing. If they do it very soon, it's only going to exacerbate a very bad situation and make it considerably worse. But depending on the timing, we'll see what happens. Should they choose to use this plan? Apparently, it's been presented to Netanyahu. To quote the Israeli military source, quote, "We've presented the Prime Minister with a comprehensive plan to defend Israel's border after, or perhaps before, the fall of Assad's regime." So I find that very, very telling. They may invade either after or perhaps before the fall of the Assad regime. And the fall of the Assad regime is still not a done deal. So interesting plan, should they choose to invade. And the military source goes on to say, quote, "If the country remains unstable, we might have to stay there for years," unquote. So now we're talking about a 50-mile by 10-mile block of Syrian territory invaded by Israeli military forces that could be there for years. And I found it very, very interesting that they are now, Washington and Israeli sources are now trying to characterize it as al-Qaeda infiltration in northern Syria. And pretty ironic considering the entire Syrian opposition movement has been infiltrated by radical elements supported by Saudi Arabia, Israel, Qatar, and the United States. So interesting how they're now characterizing it as a haven for al-Qaeda in northern Syria. Yeah, what a good place for al-Qaeda too, right? Right along the Israeli border. So this doesn't sound like a very good justification, and I don't want to be picking on Israel all the time. I know how you people are, but this is getting very escalated very quickly, and just want to keep your eyes open in case Israeli invasion happens, because of course you'll know about it only when it does happen. And apparently they have also said there will definitely be more airstrikes. So just as I mentioned in the other video, there will be more Israeli airstrikes. So this is escalating. There's now going to be a war between Syria and Israel. I'm not sure how else to characterize it, and certainly will be apparent should they invade. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.